let everybody in who's in our waiting room here on Zoom. Happy last Wear Orange Wednesday of Limb Loss Limb Difference Awareness Month 2026. Woohoo! We're wearing our orange today. I see some people wearing their orange too. Welcome in. Welcome in. It is 2 o'clock in the Eastern time zone here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that means, because it's Wednesday, it is another time to get together for a session of Life Amplified. Welcome to all of our recurring guests and to our new people too. Welcome. We're glad to see you. We hope you come back every Wednesday at 2 o'clock on Zoom and TikTok. Hi, TikTok behind the scenes. I'm Jennifer. I'm the Executive Director for Amputee Aid. Amputee Aid is the sponsor for Life Amplified. We are a Pittsburgh-based 501c3 nonprofit serving the limb loss and limb difference community all over the country. If you are already working with us, you know me. You know my coworker, Emily. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hi, I'm great.
Good. But if you're not working with us, or if you have friends, family, connections, or even your enemies, and they are looking for help, you're welcome to put them through to us. Just go to our website, amputee-aid.com, and click the little blue Get Help button. I see some hands about audio. Can you all hear me? Can they not hear me? Can nobody hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Don't get me scared. We're trying to go at least one session with no IT issues. And so far, we're batting a 0 for 52, I think. We're over a year into this. So please, nobody jinx us. Okay. Plus, it's raining. It's raining here in Pittsburgh. And if you've been with us for a while, you know, whenever it rains, the internet decides that it doesn't want to work with us. So please, let's not make the IT gods angry. All right. But if there are tech issues, somebody please let us know so we don't keep blabbing on. But anyway, love to see all of you here. Now, if you are a recurring guest, you know there are some things we like to do up front before we start with our special guests, today being Access Mob Pittsburgh. We'll talk about that in a little bit. First, say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're coming to us from and tell us how was the weather where you are. It's rainy and cold here in Pittsburgh, although it's supposed to be better for the big Pittsburgh Marathon this weekend. Listen, guys, we are a charity recipient this year for the Pittsburgh Marathon, which means we will be downtown. In fact, we have events planned Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Follow our social because we're taking lots of pictures. My goal tomorrow at the Pirates game is to get a gigantic bat filled with Diet Coke. And we'll see. All right. So follow along with us on social media and see all the things that we're doing to really end Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month in style and to celebrate the marathon and the amazing charity runners who are running this race for us, including one family that's 2 daughters and their father, who is a lower extremity amputee, who is actually, they're pushing their dad in the race. So it's going to be amazing. Okay. So follow that. But today, so tell us in the comments where you're coming to us from and well as how the weather is in your area. All right. Now, today we are closing out Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month as our theme for our webinars, and we are talking about community-based advocacy. Now, we are also doing a giveaway because we like the giveaways. Last week's giveaway was all the expert knowledge, okay, from Slingshot, Prosthetic Plus, and Amputee Walking School. If you missed that session, please go on our YouTube page and watch it. But you can also hopefully enjoy a lot of amazing information today. Not hopefully, I know you will, with Access Mob Pittsburgh. Even if you're not based in the Pittsburgh area, you are going to learn a lot about community-based advocacy and why it matters, as well as how you can get involved. So if you're already involved, amazing, take some tips and tricks. If you're not, hopefully we will plant the seed for you being a community-based advocate as well, not only during Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month, but all year round. To that end, next month, May, we are kicking off our advocacy theme. And we are going to be talking with guests from the National Disability Institute about ABLE accounts. We're going to talk about social media-based advocacy. We're going to talk about self-advocacy and hobbies. We got a whole bunch, and vocational advocacy. Okay, so next month, all about advocacy. We're going to close out this month and kick off next month with community-based advocacy. The other thing, you know, we like to do, I said a moment ago, giveaways. Okay, so we are ending Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month with a giveaway of our own, which is a shirt. Somebody is going to win a shirt from Amputee Aid. All right. If you don't like the black one, I've got a gray one too. You get to decide, and we'll make sure it's a good size for you. But we brought this one as a demo, okay, with a big old logo on there. So hopefully you like it. All you got to do for the giveaway is stay present during the Zoom session for the duration of our session. So for the next hour-ish, around 3 o'clock Eastern time, we are going to draw the name of a winner. TikTok friends, hop on over to Zoom if you want to get in on this giveaway. It's free to join the Zoom. You will see the Zoom code on our page. Just scroll back a couple of slides and you'll find the flyer for that. Zoom friends, stay on. There's nothing you need to do to enter. Just stay. Lucho behind the screen is writing down all of your names, and we will draw the name of our winner at the end of our session. We've got other giveaways planned for May, but for today, it's going to be a shirt to end Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month. Now, Emily, you have some policies and things you want to talk to us about for our webinar.
Yes. So we are live, but we are recording. So if you're someone that doesn't want to have their voice recorded, just know if you do come off mute, we will catch that in the recording. No one can see your beautiful faces or your profile pictures. Only Jennifer and I can see that. But just be mindful that if you do come off mute, your voice will be on the internet. And then this is a safe space. Please just be respectful of one another, be kind. Don't talk over one another. You can interrupt us, that's fine, but just not each other. And if you have anything that's really, really personal, this might not be the forum for that. You can always go to amputee-aid.com and click the little Get Help button in the corner, and that will direct you to us, and we can speak more specifically on personal things.
Exactly. Feel free to interrupt and ask questions as we go along. Lucho and Emily and I will do our best to read the chat for our folks on Zoom. TikTok, sorry, your print is too small. If you have a question, get over to the Zoom screen, please. You're behind the scenes, and we'll try to read the questions, but we love it when you interact. So if you have a question, just come off of mute, interrupt us. Now, be kind to Ms. Grishman because she's got a PowerPoint presentation she's going to talk to us about for a little bit, all right? But we are all here to answer your questions today. All right. To that end, Ms. Zoom user, I saw that you had raised your hands. Did you have a question for us, or are you just saying hi? Yes, ma'am. Yes. We're going to get you unmuted so that we can hear you. Okay. You'll see a little. Hello. Hi. Welcome.
Hello. I'm Tamara Henry from Warrington, Virginia.
Nice to meet you, Tamara. Okay, so and please keep coming back. We have all kinds of content and we do lots of giveaways and fun things. Today, I think is going to be, I know it's going to be an amazing session because we asked Access Mob Pittsburgh to come and talk to us. Now, and we're going to learn about what Access Mob Pittsburgh is, but I will tell you that Ms. Grishman is very well known in our area for being an advocate, okay? And so we have been following nicely her on some other meetings, and I reached out like, will you please present it to us? And she said yes. She also came to our mixer, which was amazing. And if you look at our website, you'll see some pictures of all the beautiful things about our mixer, but also you'll see her there. Mm-hmm. And so we are thrilled, Alisa, to have you here and to have you present it to us. I'm going to have Emily tell us a little bit about your background, and then we're going to turn it over to you to get started, okay?
All right. So Access Mob Pittsburgh, it's a community advocacy group focused on disability access and inclusion. They're a disability-led organization that works to make the city more accessible. And so their goal is to basically make Pittsburgh easier to navigate and more inclusive for people with disabilities.
Yes. Yay. What an amazing topic to have during Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month. And Ms. Grishman, as we're getting settled with you and you have the ability to share your screen, could I just say for a moment that I'm jealous of Jeffrey? Sunny and warm in California, 72 degrees. Lucky you. I'm not mad at all. Okay. I would just like to have some of that over here. And what an amazing background. I love the orange. Great job. Okay. I'm jealous of Jeffrey for a lot of things, but for today, it's the weather. All right. And Tina, April showers bring May flowers. That is true. We're going to have like a lot of flowers this year. All right. So Alisa, let's turn it over to you to get started. Tell us all about Access Mob Pittsburgh. I know we've got some questions too, but we're going to start with you.
Sure. Let's see. I want to full screen this view. I forgot how to do this. How do you full screen this?
Let's see. I think you can go to slideshow, which is on the upper right. Yes. And then start show on the left.
Play from start. There we go.
Yes.
Great.
Perfect.
Cool. So hello, everyone. My name is Alisa Grishman. I use she, her pronouns. I am a fat white woman with brown hair. I am wearing a black shirt that says vote. The V is books. The O is a black fist raised in a white circle. The T is a uterus, and the E is a progress pride flag. You'll notice in a lot of disability spaces, people will do audio descriptions like this, and that's to be inclusive both of folks who are blind and low vision and to those who have low bandwidth or are joining on their phones. And I wore the vote shirt just to remind everyone that May 19th is the primary, so please go vote. Your vote is
Woo!
so important. Every issue is a disability issue. And it's so important to go and vote, make your voices heard. So I'm going to start off one thing with terminology. There's a lot of good and bad terminology in disability. I'm starting off with my 3 pet peeves because I just want to put those out there right off the bat. So, we're not using ableist language by accident. Disabled is not a bad word. When you say the phrase differently abled, the question is always different from whom, which is some, ableist centering narratives. And, we don't call Usain Bolt differently abled for running really fast. We don't call Einstein differently abled for being really smart. We use it as a lesser than, as a pejorative term. And I try really hard to get rid of that. Wheelchair bound and confined to a wheelchair makes wheelchairs seem like a prison. I use a wheelchair when I leave my house, and I would be homebound without it, but it is my tool. It is my freedom that gets me out of my house and into the world. And a recent one that I've added to this list is suffers from. I don't suffer from multiple sclerosis. I have it. I live with it. When you say suffers from, it creates this poor little person narrative that I really don't like. There's on the bottom of the slide a QR code, and anyone who wants the slides, if you contact Amputee Aid or if you contact Access Mob Pittsburgh, I have a copy of these slides with audio description for anyone who needs. But there's a wonderful language guide that I have, and I will give people one more second to download it. But as I said, it's on the website that's there. You'll find a great language guide. So I want to start this out by talking about the models of disability, because there are different ways that one can think about what disability is, and that affects how we approach making changes in the world. So there's the medical model of disability, which is disability is a consequence of human health, of a health condition, diseased or caused by trauma. It disrupts the functioning of a person in a physiological or cognitive way. We have the functional model, which is disability is caused by physical, medical, or cognitive deficits, and it limits functioning or the ability to perform functional activities. And then we have the social model of disability. A person's activities are limited not by impairment or condition, but by environment. And barriers are consequences of a lack of social organization. And I like to focus in all of my advocacy on the social model of disability. I am not disabled by my condition. I am disabled by my environment. Because if we think of things of like, we have to cure this disease, and then we have to cure every disease, we have to do this, we have to eliminate it. It's overwhelming. There are no cures for a lot of diseases. A lot of people don't want to be cured of whatever is wrong with them or right with them or, anything. But when you look at that social model and think, wow, in a world full of ramps and sliding doors, I would not be disabled. I would just have another method of getting around. That changes the whole narrative of how we can do advocacy. I have here a slide with just a picture of the globe in the center that just says the problem is the disabling world. And I am going to read all these just in case there are any blind or low vision people who are participating today. It's a list of different things that contribute to accessibility barriers. So badly designed buildings, stairs, not ramps, no lifts, special schools, few sign language interpreters, discrimination, inaccessible transport, no parking spaces, isolated families, and poor job prospects. And on the bottom, it says the social model of disability states that oppression and exclusion, that the oppression and exclusion of people with impairments face caused by the way society. I can read. I'm good at things. I'm going to try this again.
You got it.
The social model of disability states that the oppression and exclusion people with impairments face is caused by the way society is run and organized. I, by the way, do not love the word impairments, but I did not make this image. There are a lot of folks who do not like the term impairment when referring to themselves. So just, something to be aware of. But so what is disability advocacy? My definition is that it's dismantling systems of oppression by using the social model of disability to recognize discriminatory practices and working to change them to better the lives of people with disabilities. Why is the social model so important in here? The best way to describe it is, nothing is set in stone, and it means you can make changes to things to make them more accessible. You can build things with universal design to be accessible from the beginning. You can put in ramps. You can make your doors slide open. You can create braille menus for your restaurant. You can have ASL at your events. They made Machu Picchu accessible, for wheelchair users. If they, the Colosseum in Rome, it's looking from that perspective, and anyone can help advocate for change. So what does it look like? These are just some examples. Having a loud, angry protest at your congressperson's office. I'm going to sit here, show off my tattoo with a bunch of chain links. I have a chain link for every time I've been arrested. A couple times at the White House, FDA headquarters, a bunch of congressional offices. That is one way that it looks, but it is not the only way to advocate for yourself, for others, for disability. It could just be writing your congressperson with your concerns, or bothering your representatives in general. There's all sorts of form letters that you can fill out. I call my Congress people all the time and tell them, I support this bill. I don't support this bill. And if enough people call saying, I'm not going to vote for you if you support this, or if you don't support this, that can help change minds. If you run events, ensuring that you provide ASL interpreters at meetings and lectures, educating business owners on why it's important to have ramps, sliding doors, and accessible bathrooms. Because if they build, anyone can use an accessible feature. If they have a choice of stairs or a ramp, not everyone can use the stairs. Everyone can use the ramp.
Yes.
Things like that. Holding all of your events in accessible venues. And you don't have to be part of an organization. You could just want to have your birthday party and make sure that you can invite all of your friends. So make sure you have it in a place that is accessible. Even small little things. I don't know how universal calling 311 is in different areas. Here in Pittsburgh, if you call 311, you get sent through to a center where they collect information on whatever your complaint is. Cracks in sidewalks, light is out in one of the lampposts, overgrowth from a plant that's blocking a sidewalk. Call 311 when you see something that needs repaired. That helps everyone. And there's just so much more that you can do beyond that. So why is disability advocacy important? I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, but I'm going to do it anyway. 61 million Americans, or 25% of the population, have a disability. And the thing that I say over and over and over again is anyone and everyone can become disabled at any point in their lives. The longer you live, the more likely it is you will become disabled at some point in your life. I could give you a bunch of boring stats on age ranges and, how many people in those ranges are disabled. 45.9% of people over 75 are reported as being disabled. And at all these ages, the numbers are vastly underreported. My mom is about to turn 81 and uses a rollator, and she does not consider herself disabled. She would not list herself as disabled on a census. I'm going to ask, Can anyone here tell me what the most common form of disability assistive device is in the country?
Ooh. Anybody have a guess? If you don't
And
want to say it verbally, you can put it in the chat.
Zoom user, you are. Oh yeah, if someone reads for me from the chat, because I can't see both the chat and Zoom user, you are unmuted.
Is mine Tamara?
Yes.
Me, okay. Well, I was in the business. Now I'm, a left leg amputee above the knee. I used to sell medical equipment, so I know about the power chairs. I know about the rollers. I mean, I can equip anyone or answer any questions ever, because you're right. The most important thing is a cane even. And my dad is.
But not what's most important. What's the most common form of disability adaptive device in the country?
Is it eyeglasses?
It is eyeglasses. And now every single person on this call goes, holy cow. If you wear glasses, you wear contact lenses, congratulations, you are disabled. And most people who wear glasses wouldn't write that on the census, but the moment you start thinking about that, and we've normalized in our society that glasses are just a thing that people wear. We don't think about it as a disability device anymore. Think how amazing it would be if, we could start thinking of wheelchairs and canes as normal everyday things, the way we think about glasses, and we're starting to think about hearing aids. And even, sorry. Just, even if you don't become disabled yourself, you might have a parent, a child, or other family member or friend who does. And just, it is the right thing to do. Like I say to folks, be on the right side of history. And advocating for people with disabilities is being on the right side of history. So, Access Mob Pittsburgh. I skipped a page on my thing. There we go. I grabbed 2 pages at once. So this here is the logo for Access Mob Pittsburgh. It's mostly black and white with some yellow. It is in the background, you have the skyline of Pittsburgh with one of the bridges in front. And then you have a set of people in front strolling along. There's one in a wheelchair, one using a cane, and one with a service animal. And the cane is ambiguous as to whether it's a walking stick or a sight cane. You can decide what you want it to be. And on the bottom, it says Access Mob Pittsburgh. So we got our origins actually back in 2015. It all started with a meetup group that used to get together every month for on odd months, we would have lectures, and on even months, we would have happy hours. And the restaurant that we always went to, we had this mix of different disabilities all represented. We always had interpreters, this and that. One day we showed up and they had, of their own volition, created several Braille menus. And we were thrilled and shocked and so happy, because not only does it give our blind and low vision participants their independence, but it also frees up time for the servers, because the servers aren't having to sit and read the whole menu to the patron. And so it's this win-win-win for everyone. And I started talking about this, including I got interviewed for something on WESA. And I mentioned this, and the amount of free advertising that they were getting for their restaurant from just, $50 investment in these menus. And this idea started building in my head of the idea of getting businesses to make these changes, having directories where then they could advertise that they, a directory of all the restaurants with Braille menus. You'd have a great captive audience there. You'd get other people building on that. And so this was also the summer that the height of flash mobs were happening. So Access Mob kind of comes from flash mob, and the idea of a bunch of disabled people descending on a business and spending our money or all sorts of things like that. the way I really like to think about it and the way I talk about it a lot, I've said that I am a huge fan of a loud, angry protest. And there is a time and a place for for loud, angry protests. But there's also a time and a place for catching more flies with honey than with vinegar. And so we try to take that approach to our advocacy and what we do. We try really hard. People can, if changes don't get made, then other groups can come and do the loud, angry protest. But it's great to start with, education, economic incentives, that sort of advocacy work. So what do we do? Our big thing that we're really known for is our community lecture nights. I will skip that for a second because there's a whole slide on that. Patronizing accessible businesses. One of our first events back in 2015, I had made these business cards with our original logo on the front, and on the back, it wrote something about, the ADA is a law that, it's a flawed law, and it needs some help, and we came to spend our money at your business today because, and then a little write-in section. There was, of all things, a liquor store on Center Avenue that was one of the first businesses to, hopefully this comes back, but the city at the time had something called the One Step program where businesses could apply through the city for help with doing the permits and stuff to get their single step converted into a ramp. This was one of the first businesses that did that. And so for a week, we had different people. We gave our cards out to folks, and we went, or people could print their own, went to the business, spent money, left a card saying, I came here today because I can get in the door, or my grandma uses a wheelchair and now she could get in the door. Things like, just, I like that you did this. And then we had people report to us what they'd spent, and we spent, I think, $800 in a week. And so my dream is to keep doing things like this. We've done phone banks. Another early event was when the Affordable Care Act was under threat. We did a phone bank to call all of the representatives and senators who had voted yes on dismantling the Affordable Care Act, and talk to them and say, I'm disabled, or whatever, and we need this, no cuts and caps to Medicaid. We do a lot of work with the universities for their community service days. Especially, we'll do sidewalk canvases for neighborhoods, reporting stuff to 311 for bad sidewalk conditions, eroded curb cuts, any sort of things like that. Unfortunately, this app is kind of defunct now, but we used to do mapathons for business accessibility for something called Access Map, which is kind of Yelp for accessibility. And so we'd send people into businesses and assess the doorways and the bathrooms and things like that. We have accessible dance parties at open streets because, it's nice to have an accessible dance party and anyone can dance at it. Happy hours, we're trying to find a COVID conscious way to start those again. We used to have every other month a happy hour. Since so many people are immunocompromised, we haven't yet found a great way. We're working on that, but it's something that we are hoping to resurrect because it's nice to just sit and have a drink with some friends and hang out. We talk so much about doom and gloom when it comes to disability, and we don't talk enough about disability joy. And happy hour with friends is disability joy and just being awesome together. I said I'd come back to this. So we have community lecture nights. These are our big events. They're every other month, and they're on all sorts of topics related to disability. If you are on a device, you just go to accessmobpittsburgh.org. One of the drop-down tabs up top says Community Lecture Series. You'll find that on our website. We do have 3 scheduled upcoming lectures on May 18th. More Than Words, Empowering Nonverbal Youth Through Multimodal Communication Access. July 27th is Empowered Esports, and September 28th is Thinking Outside the Box, Employment and Persons with Disabilities. Save the date too for November 23rd. We're in the process of securing that speaker. These are all from 6 to 7:30 p.m. They're on Zoom. We also live stream them to YouTube. You can find all that information on our website. We have ASL for every event that we do. But yeah, that's our bread and butter, and that's really what we've gotten known for. We've gotten some great feedback from that. One of our last lectures last year was so popular, we had to upgrade our Zoom account to have more people on it. So back in 2017, in Allegheny County, which is for non-local folks, that's the county that Pittsburgh is in, there is an annual tradition of having an annual celebration of the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And in 2017, Access Mob stepped forward to the city and to the disability community and said, we would like to do it. And we kicked butt. We got an entire city street downtown shut down. We set up a giant stage and we had speakers. We had, including a state rep, we had disabled speakers. We, had local advocates. We had a march that we did for a couple of blocks for people who were able to do it. And it was a really fun activity overall. And so the website is still there for anyone who's interested. At some point, we will have the video. They took the videos off of Facebook because Facebook is silly. They will be on YouTube at some point in the near future. I just have to do all the transcription for it. But if you go on YouTube and look up Access Mob Pittsburgh's channel and follow it, at some point, the videos of all the speakers with ASL will be up there for anyone who wants. This now has morphed into the Disability Pride celebration, which is, oh my gosh, I did not write this down. It is in September this year. If you go to that website, it will have the exact date. I'm so sorry. I thought I wrote that down. But Disability Pride is now an annual celebration throughout the state. And, we have a celebration here in Pittsburgh where people with disabilities come together and celebrate what makes us awesome and powerful and wonderful and just worthy of the same joy that anyone else is. We have speakers, we have a resource fair, kids activities. The Ryan Shazier Foundation partners with us every year to provide activities for the whole family. It's a wonderful day, and I encourage anyone local to check it out. If there are people in other parts of Pennsylvania, if you go to disabilitypridepa.org, there is a tab on top that I think says celebrations, and you can find that there are different celebrations throughout the state throughout the year. We do a lot of work with coalitions. Through word of mouth, Access Mob has become known to a lot of groups in the area as just being a good resource to partner on various activities. The 2 that I have up here right now are 2 of our biggest ones. Access Mob was one of the founding members of Pittsburgh Walks, which is a coalition of people who are advocating for better pedestrian infrastructure. This has led us, if you go to pittsburghwalks.org, there's a tab up top that says Safe Sidewalks Crew. We worked with the city of Pittsburgh, with the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure. We wanted a way that we could map the conditions of city sidewalks for the city to be aware of, to go in and make repairs, but without using 311, because the downside of 311 reporting is that people who, in Pittsburgh, the property owner is responsible for the sidewalk outside of their house. And a lot of the terrible sidewalks are unfortunately in very low income neighborhoods. And we didn't want to unfairly overburden low income folks with the sidewalk repairs, especially when it's something we're trying to get the city to come in and fix. So we wanted a way to map the sidewalks that wouldn't report to 311. The city at the same time was looking for a way to map sidewalks that they didn't have money to get people to go out and do. And so this partnership formed. We created the Safe Sidewalks crew. There is a web form app that people can use to map city sidewalks. One of my board members actually developed a training that we have available both online and in person to learn how to map the conditions in your neighborhood. This is Pittsburgh, city of Pittsburgh specific, but we are so happy. We would love other areas to reach out to us and say, we want to start something like this where we live. How can we do it? We've already gotten assurances from the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure to that, they will happily help other cities, other areas create things like this. We're also one of the partners of Week Without Driving. So we have a public transit, we have bike, we have seniors, and we have people with disabilities represented as the driving force behind Week Without Driving. It's every year in October, and it's a week to focus on the fact that, up to a third of people in the United States either don't or can't drive, either through disability or through choice or finances. And we want to uplift those folks, help people who can't not drive, advocate for better ways to get around, really encourage folks to check that out. The link here is the Pittsburgh specific, but Week Without Driving happens throughout the country, and you can start it in your area too. If you just Google Week Without Driving, you can find the national information on that. We make a lot of connections too, just by sheer presence, over the 10 years, 11 years now that we've been around. So the one, I have the logo for the NFL up here right now. Earlier this year, realized that the NFL had not yet presented an accessibility plan for the draft that just happened here in Pittsburgh to what's called the City County Task Force on Disabilities, to approve, to make comments on. They're supposed to do that. And so my organization, we reached out to the NFL and to the mayor's office to say this really needs to happen. And that got a meeting going. So we had representatives from the task force. I had myself from Access Mob. We had someone from Visit Pittsburgh, and we had representatives from the NFL, and they gave us a presentation on what they were going to be doing, and we were able to get feedback on this. But then that connection traveled forward, and a couple weeks later, or a couple weeks ago, I should say, they reached out to us saying, you're listed as a local resource. We're trying to find local organizations to do wheelchair rentals through. Can you help us out? So that building of connections has been very helpful. There's other examples of this, but that's just kind of the most recent one that And then my pride and joy is something called Ballots for Patients. This was run for over 10 years by a local, or 20 years, goodness. Yeah, 20 years by a local disability advocate named Paul O'Hanlon, who we sadly lost last year. He started this initiative after he worked in a call center for voting and whatnot. A lot of people who were hospitalized and people with disabilities were calling with questions about, not being able to get last minute, voting options because they were in the hospital. Paul, I like to think that Paul is behind this. He worked, with the state to try to advocate for what became known as the emergency absentee ballot. And as soon as that was passed, he started a program where every other year on the big national elections, we go into hospitals on election day to collect emergency absentee ballots from hospitalized patients, originally in Allegheny County only. I started in 2016 volunteering I was the volunteer coordinator for the whole thing. And then we were able to expand enough that this past election in 24, we had people who were able to drive ballots down to like Washington, Beaver, Butler, and Armstrong counties, I believe, or Westmoreland counties, not Armstrong. Local counties for anyone who doesn't live around here, don't worry about it. But we had it's a lot of work. After Paul died, Access Mob just took over ballots for patients. So we're working right now with the local hospital system. I took on another board member who works in disability voting advocacy to help out with this. And oh gosh, if you go to accessmobpittsburgh.org, on the top there is a link that says ballots for patients. It's kind of a placeholder right now, but there are ways to connect with us to sign up to volunteer if you are local. I'm also happy to explain to other folks how we do this so they can do it in their own areas. So that is a lot about what Access Mob does. What can you do? What can I do now? For anyone who's inspired watching this, or, coming to this later, it is never too early to start advocating because you want the world to be accessible if and when you need it to be. Don't wait until you break your leg and you're on one of those little knee scooters to suddenly realize that, oh, you can't get up the curbs and stuff. Start advocating for it now. Get involved with disability advocacy groups and start helping out. You do not have to be disabled to be part of a disability advocacy group. I'm here speaking today to Amputee Aid. I don't have limb loss or limb difference, but I can talk about, all sorts of things like this because I want to get involved in those groups because I might lose a limb one day, and it's good to start advocating for it now. Talk to elected representatives about your concerns for the future. You can just call them up and say, I'm in Pennsylvania right now with the Medicaid shortages. There's a risk to loss to home and community-based services for folks who need them. It's okay to call your representative and say, I'm worried that if I become disabled, I won't be able to access these services. That's just as valuable as saying, I have those services now, please don't end them. Advocate for your workplace to be more inclusive and welcoming of people with disabilities. Do that however you see fit. Just, little things matter, even if you just hear someone using the R word, saying, no, don't use that word. That's not okay. All those things. Read books about disability advocacy and educate yourself. I have a QR code there. That is my own personal curated reading list. It changes periodically. And if people have ideas of things that they want to see added to the list because they think they're profound, please, let me know. And I'm more than happy to add to it. And then how to get involved. Here's how to get involved with Access Mob Pittsburgh. On our left, we have a QR code for a mailing list that actually goes to our contact page. So there is a contact form if you want to reach us directly. You can also email accessmobpittsburgh, all spelled out, at gmail.com. But on the right side of the web page where the contact list is, there is a way to subscribe to our mailing list. We don't spam people. It's mostly just announcements about events coming up. Facebook, we use Facebook a lot. If you just look up Access Mob Pittsburgh, or there's a QR code there for it. We are starting to use our Instagram. So if you're an Instagram person and go on Access Mob Pittsburgh, I just hired a social media person, which is so exciting because I hate doing social media. but she's wonderful, and she's going to be getting that up and going. If you are not local, well, join our mailing list anyway, because the community lecture nights that we have are pretty universal. Like, some of them are very hyper local specific, but a lot of them, the upcoming one about different modes of communication for people who are non-speaking, it doesn't matter where you live. That's going to be interesting and applicable. But find stuff that's going on in your area. Look up Disabled Oregon or wherever you're from and get involved, because like I said, start advocating now for when you need it. So we're going to move on now. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Tell me.
I do. We got lots of questions. I'm sure we do. So as we're getting started, first of all, round of applause. Thank you very much. Heart emojis, celebration emojis, whatever you want to see. So much to take away from here. And as I said, y'all, when we got started, even if you're not local to the Pittsburgh area, there is inspiration, information, and things that you can harvest from what Access Mob Pittsburgh is doing. I would like to start us out with the questions, Ms. Grishman. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a question directed to the group for our TikTok friends and our Zoom friends. Have you been involved in any community advocacy, whether it was for a one-time project or a group that you are in? Have you or are you involved? And if so, tell us about it. We'd love to hear what you all are doing for community advocacy, whether it's a parking space, something with the park, calling your congressperson. Tell us about that in the comments or raise your hand. We'd love to hear about that. And as we're looking for some comments, Ms. Grishman, I would like to go back for a moment to the tattoo, because there's an important piece you left out about that tattoo. And that is, so there's links for all the times you've been arrested, but it's open. And why is it open?
I always leave it open for the next arrest.
Yes.
I'm ready to fight if needed. I recognize that I have a lot of privilege. I have white privilege. I have educated privilege. I have some financial privilege. What is the point of having that privilege if I'm not using it for good? I do work here, I don't mean to be political, and this is outside the work of Access Mob. This is just my own personal stuff. But I do ICE rapid response in the area and patrol the municipal courts because I can. I have citizenship privilege to be able to go and do that. I want to be on the right side of history. And if that involves getting arrested, or like 2017, I made national news. I got dumped out of my wheelchair by police at protesting.
Oh my gosh.
If any of you saw it, was on the Rachel Maddow show. Although the footage has mysteriously disappeared.
Oh my
that's, I recognize that I have a lot of privilege, and I think I just hate myself if I didn't try to use that to help people.
Yes.
My goal is that we don't have to have future generations fighting for what I'm fighting for now.
I love that. And I also love, and we're going to get to the comments in a minute. Thank you guys for sharing in the comments. Alisa, I want to go back to a comment that you made that really struck me as an advocate for amputees, who is herself not an amputee. Same thing for Emily. And that is this underlying point that everybody can be an advocate, and you can advocate for things. You might not have the shared experience, the lived experience, but you can care, and you should care enough to make the world more accessible and kind for everybody. And I think I want that to be something that you all take away, whether you're advocating for limb loss or limb difference, or your neighbor down the street who's undocumented, or housing insecurity or income insecurity, or whatever it is. Everybody has the power and ability to do that. And related to that, it doesn't have to be something that you're spending money on. You can give your time, your talent, or your treasure. You can send an email. You can share flyers, right? This isn't something where we're spending lots and lots of money. You can do things for free and really make a difference. You can use your body. You can show up at an event. You don't have to get arrested and get the chain link tattoos if you don't want to, but you can. And we're not advising that. We do not have bail money at Amputee Aid. And oddly enough, I've had to say that a couple of times on our webinars, but you can do those things. And so I want to share some of the comments that we're getting. I saw making parks more accessible in Indiana. I see So Everybody Can Move, West Virginia and Connecticut. Thank you for that. If you want to know more about So Everybody Can Move, check our YouTube page. We did an amazing session with Jeff and one of his partners there. I saw parking spaces more accessible. Here in Pittsburgh, we've been monitoring the new airport and making some revisions to the airport to make it more accessible. Alisa, I'm wondering if you could, since we got your PowerPoint up and we got a couple more minutes, could you scroll back to the slide that showed the social model? It was a nice blue globe with all the different kind of, some of the many examples. I love this because when I was watching this during your presentation, I was thinking about all the ways that Amputee Aid, that other nonprofit organizations, and that all of us as a collective can focus on ways that the world is disabling itself, right? Design of buildings, stairs and no ramps, the type of stairs, schools, sign language interpreters, discrimination, accessible parking spaces, families, and then poor job prospects. And I was thinking, and maybe some of you can share in the chat, or if you want to share verbally, you can, about the ways this model affects you as someone with limb loss or limb difference as well. I see a lot of connections there and ways that you can start thinking of ways that you can advocate for your community and for fairness. If you don't know how to get started, this is a great kind of visual of some of the many ways that you can focus on particular topics. Now, Alisa, on that point, if someone is new to the world of advocacy, they don't know how to get started. I heard you say search in your area for similar types of groups. What would you say to someone who feels like, oh, I don't want to be the person who's like loud and proud and yelling and on the news. I'm kind of scared. Like, what is your advice for someone who maybe feels like they don't want to or they don't have the ability?
I'm so glad you asked this because I was trying to find a way to say, I'm not going to call her out by name because she'd be very embarrassed, but I have a dear, dear friend who really wants to help out with the advocacy work that I do. And because of her job, she can't go to protests. She can't get arrested. She can't speak up like that. But she has access to a printer. And for the longest time, especially when I started and we had events where we had paper flyers and we had leaflets that we handed out, she printed everything for me. That saved, this was before we now have 501c3 status through a fiscal agent. We now have grant money. This was when I was paying out of pocket. She saved me so much money and I was able to get so much work done just because she said, okay, I will print stuff for you. And, that was her way of giving to the cause. Like, for every single person who's out there yelling and screaming on the streets, there's 10 people behind them, holding them when they come home and cry after they see something terrible, giving a cup of tea, just, being a good friend. Like, all of those things are just as valid, if not even more important than being the visible face,
Yes.
I couldn't do it without. But, if you want to get involved, for example, Access Mob, we're hoping someday to be able to build enough of a base of supporters to do volunteer projects like the sidewalk surveys that we've been doing for Pittsburgh Walks, or just even doing things like that. There's so many things. And as long as you do it from a good place in your heart of trying to make the world accessible, that's disability advocacy.
Yes, I love that. That is such a way to kind of bring our session to a close, which is, and Deb, we're going to get to you in a minute, is there's a place for everyone. If you come at this with a good heart and good intentions, believe us as advocates, we'll find something for you to do. Okay, there's plenty of work. We will find something for you to do. Deb, I saw that you had your virtual hand raised. Do you have a question or a comment?
A little bit of both,
Okay.
because I just, myself, I just moved to a new city and I am finding, little things that could be improved. I am going to get to a point within the next couple of months where I'm going to have the time to do some stuff. So I would very much like to contact the city government, and I would very much like to have your slideshow as information for them. I wouldn't copy it word for word, but it's to be something that I could use to feed facts off of. Now, along with that, when you have your phone banks and whatnot, and you're calling congressmen or senators or whomever your state representatives are, do you, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but do you find that maybe it falls on deaf ears sometimes? Like how much impact is it? You may get, I'm assuming you may get a response that's going to appease you for the time being and hopefully, quiet the community. But how do you find their reactions?
So it's not, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, and is there anything specific you can say to get them to react positively and actually do something?
So sometimes it's not about changing the minds of the people you're calling. It's also about building community with the people who are doing the calling. And so maybe you don't manage to change the mind of, Bob Smith, congressperson for, Main Street, USA. Maybe you don't change Bob Smith's mind, but you connect with the local community and you're able to build a force to then get together and grow larger and do petitions. And, maybe the 10 of you at first don't make a difference, but when you've built up to being 100 of you or 1,000 of you, through doing continued work and showing that you're not going to give up, that builds a base of support that eventually they start to listen because this is their constituents. These are the people who can and will vote them out of office. That's just as important as anything else. I still call both of my state senators, although, I don't think either of them listen, but at least I can say I tried, and that makes me feel better too.
Yeah, one thing I'm thinking, if I can chime in there, because having done lobbying and advocacy work as well, sometimes it's not the response that you're looking for; it's the action. It's the act of making the call and bringing attention to something. And I'm not an expert on this, but I will also say, I have also shared the fact that there's been a non-response with the public, because you better believe that when an elected official finds out that they are the one with the reputation of not caring, suddenly they care. Okay. So there is an art to it. I would not say you go into that and like blow up all over the internet about it. But the fact of getting a non-response, Deb, or feeling like they're just paying lip service to me, sometimes that you can use that to your advantage too, right, Alisa? The response or non-response, both of those things can actually be helpful to you when you're creating an environment where there's political pressure to make a change. Any other questions or comments? I saw Candy, great question about legal status. The reason that we care about legal status is that it will affect someone's access to resources and ability to get care. So we do include that when we're talking about these topics, because someone who's undocumented might not have the ability to get health care for their physical disability or mental disability. So that's kind of part of the advocacy world that we look at. I saw some other comments in here about types of, advocacy. So Everybody Can Move comes up a lot because that is a big thing here for Limb Loss, Limb Difference Awareness Month. But as you can see from this slide here, there are lots of different kind of topics and avenues. And if there's two things, I was going to say one, but there's really two things I want you all to take away from our conversation with Access Mob Pittsburgh. It's number one, sign up for the community lecture series. There is high quality curated content. It is worth your time to listen to experts speak and to give you ideas for how to reframe and how to think about things, but also maybe some takeaways that you can bring into your own community. Okay. So everybody sign up for it. We will include the sign up information with our YouTube email this Friday. The second
I'll
thing
let
is,
you know,
go
all of our stuff is recorded. So
Yes.
any of our past topics, if you go to their respective pages, there is an embedded video. So you can
Watch it.
catch up on anything you missed.
Yes, watch it. It is worth your time. And the second is, I hope that you have taken away some ideas that you can adapt at the local level for you as well. Okay. Thank you, Jeff, for that as well. Parking mobility, very, very important for us for the limb loss and limb difference community. Lisa, as we are kind of wrapping up our
We have
session
one
and
more
turning to our
question.
giveaway.
I just wanted the Zoom user, was it Therese? I see you
Oh.
physically raising your hand.
We missed you. Thank you for bringing that up. So go ahead. We'll end our comments on you, and then Ms. Grishman will give you the final word before we do our giveaway. Okay, go ahead. Oh, let's get you unmuted so we can hear you.
Hi, thank you
Hi,
for
sure.
taking my call. I'm Tamara Henry from Warrington, Virginia. And has anybody bought a car in the past?
I think we all have.
Yeah, but you have to go to the dealership, right? And sit for hours and hours. Yes. Well, not when you lose your leg. I've got Moore's Cadillac. I have a Cadillac that's has 42,000 miles on it. It was a gift from a family member when I first became handicapped. And now I need to sell it to afford to buy my bigger vehicle that's going to accommodate my power wheelchair. Mm-hmm. So I'm not selling my car to you. That's not why I'm here.
I was going to say, is it for sale?
Yeah, it is for sale, but they'll come if you don't have a leg or you're handicapped. Yeah. Or my girlfriend has MS. I've talked to 4 different car dealers, and they're like, "Oh, sweetheart, we'll come to your home. You don't have to go anywhere." Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going to be selling it to them, but it's such a low offer for such a 2019 car with. Yeah. And I see men here and women. I'm asking, who can help me? Is this a good decision or bad? I don't know.
Ooh. First, I would say reach out to us at amputeeaid.com, amputee-aid.com, so we can help advocate for you. Because I think one thing that you're bringing up, it's a couple of good points here. First, about the whole act of changing your vehicle so that it's more accessible for you. But also, there's a little bit of an assumption that if you are someone with limb loss or limb difference, you can't go to the dealership. Like, you have to be catered to and kind of talked down to. Like, you know, you're not stupid. You don't have a limb. It's not like you lost your brain. And so I think there's, you know, and Alisa, this is a good kind of way to come back to your initial slide, which is about terminology and being mindful of what you say and how you say it. How you talk to somebody with a disability, the words that you use and the tone that you take, all of that is also part of this advocacy theme. So we're going to give you the last word, Ms. Grishman, if there's anything else that you want to say as we're wrapping up our webinar today.
Oh, is that me?
No, that's me.
Yep.
Vote as if your life depended on it, because it does. Make sure that your friends and family members vote. And remember that every issue is a disability issue. I just, I know I'm preaching to the choir when I remind folks that anyone and everyone can become disabled at any point. Disability is not scary. The only scary part is the parts that are manufactured by the external world. Going out in a wheelchair is only scary because sidewalks are terrible, not because there's something inherent about a wheelchair. And once you start thinking about that and ways that you can change the world, your mind just shifts its perception of everything. So, start advocating now, start advocating as quietly or as loudly as you need. And, just be kind to one another.
Yes.
I can't show it's be kind always, no matter with Mr. Rogers' Trolley. Yes. And I try to live by that. So
I love that.
Be kind always, no matter.
And also don't be afraid to get arrested, right? No, I'm kidding, Lisa. But if you are, display it on your arm, okay? Thank you for that.
I careful love about being arrested.
Yeah.
Again, make sure you're safe.
No advice. We're not giving legal advice. Let's stick with the first one, which is be kind always. As we're turning over to our giveaway, thank you. Round of applause for Ms. Grishman. Thank you so much for doing this for us. Jeffrey, I said I was jealous of you for a lot of reasons, including the weather. I love what you did with the parking mobility situation and making the report. Will you connect with us? Because I love talking to government officials about getting apps rolled out. And I think that there's an opportunity for us to partner and maybe push that issue a little bit more, okay? So reach out to us. And if I don't hear from you, I'm going to start bugging you so we can talk about that. Now, next week starts May, the whole month of May, okay? And month of May is devoted to self-advocacy. And we are starting on a big note, how to make and protect your money, okay? So everybody has money issues. There's not a single person here who does not have money issues. If you want to know about ABLE accounts and how you can use them to your advantage, particularly if you are someone who is applying for or receiving disability-based income, please join us next Wednesday, May 6th, 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Zoom and TikTok. We will have Lori from the National Disability Institute, who specializes in ABLE accounts, talking to us about what these are and how you can get one and why it matters. Okay, so watch for the flyers. Please come back. Share this with all of your friends because everybody's got money sensitivities. Not a single person in the world doesn't. You will all benefit from hearing about this. Emily, on that note, who is the winner of our giveaway today?
Daryl Hamilton.
Oh,
Going to be getting a shirt.
we'll be sending this down to you in Texas in a short sleeve, which is good for you. We'll reach out to you and see if you want the black one or the gray one. We'll mail that to you. Congratulations for doing our giveaway. We'll have some more giveaways. We've got some cool stuff for summertime. We've got some more coffees and teas and food, candles, all the things. Okay, so come back next week, May 6th, Wednesday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Zoom and TikTok with Lori on ABLE accounts and how to make some smart money moves. Today, we hope that you learned a lot about community-based advocacy. Thank you, Access Mob Pittsburgh, for being with us. Until next week, everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Have a wonderful beginning of next week. And we'll see you next Wednesday, May 6th, 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Zoom and TikTok to talk about all things money. Bye, everyone. Take care. Happy Live Long Live Christmas month. Bye.
Thank you.